The pros are, the game is going to slow way down.
So this does slow the game down.
They obviously slowed the game down as a reason.
It seems like they're trying to drastically slow the game down.
It manages to slow the game way down.
Boy, were we wrong.
YugiNoNo!
Alright guys, so in this video, we're going to be talking about link summoning, because everyone's excited about that, right? I'm going to talk about the mechanic itself, the changes it's going to make to the game, and also I'm going to talk about some cards that you can pick up right now in preparation for link summoning. But before I get started here, you guys are going to notice that there is a card missing from the card wall. Someone broke into my house and stole just one card. No, but for real, I actually updated my Patreon rewards, and one of the rewards is to get a signed card off the card wall. The $10 reward is to get any card off of this wall signed and sent to you. And it's also going to be serving the purpose of like adding new cards to the wall and adding some more variety. So bam, Yu-Gi-Oh! Jesus powers. And the other two rewards are the $5 reward and the $20 reward. The $5 reward is to get to duel me on any platform except for Yugioh Pro on Android. And the $20 reward is a Skype hangout. We'll hang out and duel and talk and all that stuff. And I want to give a quick shout out to everybody that has already donated to me. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. The money really helps to keep Mail Mondays going, and also it motivates me to get off my ass and make videos. But anyways, on to the topic of the video. Let's talk about link summoning. The easiest way to explain link summoning is synchro summoning, but without a tuner. You take two monsters that are listed as the required material to link summon, and then you link summon a monster in your extra deck monster zone. And then link monsters have arrows that open up your normal monster zones for extra deck monsters. But they also have arrows pointing up that unlock zones for your opponent. So what this basically means is a lot of old decks aren't going to be playable anymore. At least until there's a generic link monster that's easily accessible, or a generic strategy, you know, with link monsters that's easily accessible that every deck can play. But until then, decks like Totally Heroes, for example, aren't going to be Totally Heroes. They are just going to be Dark Law Turbo. Like, that is literally it. Now, there are a lot of decks, though, that don't really get bothered by link summoning. Cosmos are a fantastic example because all of your big monsters are in the main deck, and the deck really doesn't use its extra deck, hardly ever. I can't even think of the last time that I dueled against a Cosmo player and they actually went into their extra deck. It's not really needed in that deck. All their monsters are big, they can't be targeted, and they're just an annoyance. Speaking of annoyances though, Herald and other ritual decks are also viable because ritual monsters aren't affected by link summoning. Now, other Yugi-tubers, including myself, have speculated that pendulums are going to be done for after link summoning comes out. The more I think about it, pendulums might actually end up coming out on top. And that's simply because all pendulum monsters float unless they're like Solemn Strike or Warning or something like that. Like, there's not going to be any more Pin 5 from the extra deck because you only have one extra deck monster zone, but you can still stack your extra deck full of pendulum monsters and open up your normal monster zones with link monsters and summon them from the extra deck that way. So yeah, I think we're going to see pendulums for a long time to come, and I also think that we might even see pendulum decks in the future. Unless, of course, if Konami just decides to stop supporting them altogether. But I just do not see that happening, because why would they just completely ignore an entire mechanic and just pretend it didn't exist? Especially their most powerful mechanic to date. Which brings me to the next subject here. How powerful is link summoning?
It's damn good.
It actually opens up a lot of doors into future combos and maybe even ways to make future boss monsters. Because you can use link monsters to summon other link monsters, which I think is going to make the game even faster. Which is why myself and other Yugi-tubers were completely wrong about link summoning upon its initial announcement. We were all like, oh sweet, we only have one extra deck monster zone, there's not going to be any more extra deck spam, but looking at the mechanic now, we can see that it's going to get even more spammy. And that's just link stuff that we've seen so far. We don't even know what kind of power creep is going to go on as the game evolves. For example, Stargrails look like a really broken, powerful deck, but I promise a full year later or a year and a half later, it won't take long and that deck will be completely power creeped. That's just how Yu-Gi-Oh! Evolves. Like, the best example I can think of off the top of my head is like Magicians. Magicians were a structure deck that came out, and that was the best deck in the game, but quickly got power creeped like, what, a month and a half, 2 months later, because Breakers of Shadow came out with broken cards like Rafflesia and Monkey Board and all that stuff, and completely made Magicians obsolete. And I think the Pepe deck is the main reason people don't like Pendulums, because that deck was just so powerful. It was insane. Now, Magicians were very powerful at their time too, but I feel like that deck was way more fair. But power creep is just a natural thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards need to get better. It works like this, okay? Like, why would someone buy a new product when their old deck still works just fine and is still winning. Like ABCs are another really good example of power creep because at one point in time that was the best deck in the game as well. So if you were a highly competitive player, you were most likely playing ABCs, and then you moved on to Metal Foes, and then moved on to whatever else. Now, a lot of people are going to call that pay to win, but that's a discussion for a whole other video. Now, let's move on to a question that I get asked a lot, and that is, will my extra deck monsters, will my old extra deck monsters still be playable? I think yes, to a certain extent, there's going to be some extra deck monsters like that are currently available to us that will keep relevancy. Like I can see a monster like Reflasia, for example, which is incredibly powerful and reactive on your opponent's turn, being viable in the future. Good extra deck monsters are a lot like good main deck cards. They kind of fall in and out of relevancy depending on the format. You just kind of have to use your own judgment on what to play, or at the very least net deck and just look what other people are winning with. So now let's move on to cards that you can be picking up right now that'll prepare you for link summoning. And I highly recommend, if you don't have it already, pick up the Brilliant engine. I highly recommend picking up that engine because it is just so powerful. Seraphinite does use your one extra deck zone, but you can use the Seraphinite to summon a link monster. Plus you get 2 normal summons. Seraphinite is just broken, guys. And plus, like, the light that you dump off of the Brilliant Fusion can be like Trick Clown, for example, which just summons itself by paying 1,000. I also highly recommend picking up the Speedroid engine because Terror Top is a fantastic card. It special summons itself and searches. What more can you ask for? Now, if you're watching this video and you're just like, fuck link summoning, then that's fine. You can also pick up the Artifact engine because Artifact Scythe is a fantastic card that keeps your opponent from summoning from the extra deck for a turn. Plus, it's a 2200 body. Going first with a Set Sanctum is actually really powerful. You don't have to worry about link monsters if they can't summon them. But anyways, guys, I hope that this discussion was helpful to you. Go ahead and let me know what cards you guys are thinking about playing down in the comment section. And as always, be sure to dick slap that like button and subscribe. Subscribe!